Hi, this is Carolyn, and we are on day 9, which, how exciting. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is days off. I am hoping that you have taken at least one, if not 2 days off, because you need it. I know you may be super excited and stoked. Maybe this is one of the first times you've really written consistently for this long, and you don't want to break the mojo, you don't want to break the roll, you don't want to stop yourself. And I understand that, but remember, the whole point of this module is to be sustainable, that we want this for a long time. So look at your life. If your boss is getting upset that you're taking a longer than normal lunch because you're writing, if your family's upset because you haven't been making home meals, if you've been missing baseball practices, whatever your old life, whatever, your routine was, if it's being significantly changed and people are feeling that and feeling that you don't care because of that, it may be time for a break. Usually I only write 5 days a week because I realize I used to write 7, I used to write 6, but I realized I was burning out. And it affects your writing. I mean, if nothing else, think about your writing, is that you really do need to prime the pump. You need that well to kind of fill back up again. And so taking days off and really not looking at your writing and just allowing life to flow through your eyes and your senses is going to refill you. And especially if you're thinking about things at night and allowing your subconscious to have a few nights of work without writing, you're going to find when you come back from your day off really reinvigorated, having more ideas, thinking in new directions because you've had time to play with it a little bit. Writing every single day is a little bit of a grind, and your writing is going to get a little bit flat because of it. I know that is what happened with me, and so I am very happy to be writing 5 days a week now. I mean, I miss the page count. I miss burning through the book so quickly, but it's a better book because I'm going slower. So if you have not yet taken a day off, I would say hit pause and go take a day off. I give you total and complete permission, and I believe you're going to come back. And I know some of you are terrified that if you take a day off, you just won't come back. I have faith you will. I really do. So try it, experiment with it. If you take a day off and you end up leaving for 3 weeks and struggle to come back, then maybe you do want to take less time off until you figure it out. But you do need to ultimately figure out how to take time off in amongst writing a book because you need that time to recharge. Even if it's just for your writing, you need some days off. So hopefully you are well rested, you're invigorated, you're very excited about hitting the pages today. We are going to be writing pages 40 to 45, which depending on where you're at, you're either really still filling that balloon, okay, filling. You're still hammering that hero with his old life. His old life wants him out. It's done with him. It hates him. It is bonking him in the head every chance it gets, stabbing him, poking him, prodding him that he needs to leave, that the old life and the hero are no longer compatible and the old life wants him gone. Now, today you may be actually turning to the new life. We may actually accept or at least force the opportunity onto the hero today. That's all right. Then tomorrow will be kind of the follow-up to that and continuation of that because it takes some pages. I don't know if I've talked about this concept of weight of words, but there's a weight of words that however many words you use for something subscribes it importance. The reader thinks, well, if I'm reading this many words about a comic book, that comic book must be important. If it's not, then you've overwritten. If it is, the comic book ends up solving the problem for the hero in the end, then it was worth those words. It was worth the weight of those words. The opportunity is so important that we are going to put some words into it. We are going to, for a single kind of event and the sequelae of that event, we are going to write 10 to 15 pages about it because it is that important. So we are in the old life. Usually the magician or villain or whoever presented the opportunity is there and is goading the hero to accept the opportunity. Usually the hero does not accept the opportunity unless it is a false opportunity, which we've talked about before. In the classic structure, though, the hero hates the opportunity and must be propelled, catapulted into the new life. That is by being fired, by taking the red pill, but there's a lot of different ways. Now there's a slow curve, which is kind of Star Wars, a little bit of a slow curve. He is forced into it by a violent act, and many times it is a violent act, whether that is physical violence or emotional violence, being fired, having your wife tell you she's a man, something that's going to really rock your world. The this turn is going to shatter his life. He really cannot go back to his old life, whether that is a physical manifestation, he goes off of planet like Luke does or Neo does into the really crappy human world, or whether it's an emotional journey like, let's say, Dodgeball, where he doesn't care about anything and then suddenly has to care because he's about to lose his gym and his sidekicks need this gym. Not so much for him, but for his sidekicks. He accepts the opportunity, which is to embrace Dodgeball and win the Dodgeball tournament to get the money to save the business. So he is in the same world, he is in the same environment, but he is not in his old life because his old life was not caring. Now he must care. He's going to fight against that caring. And he's not going to like this new life of caring, but he is going to care. So there are numerous, as always, ways to do this. Structure gets you in the ballpark. You're the one that decides the team and how it's going to be played and all of those things. This is your story. In no way is story structure dictating anything to you besides packaging your story in a way that the reader wants to read the most. Okay? And if you're writing for a reader, if you're writing for a readership, I certainly do. I am not my own boss. My readers are my boss. I have to satisfy hundreds of thousands of people. So I have to do this. And so that is why I stick so closely to story structure, because story structure is really the scaffolding by which the reader understands what's happening and can really enjoy it, relax and enjoy it and sink in to the novel. If you mess up and fuss with structure too much, that is disconcerting to most readers. Now, there's certain literary fiction that likes to do this, and you can certainly have time traveling and things like that. But for the most part, the vast majority of readers want story structure straightforward so that they know what they're doing and they feel comforted by it, and they can really just pay attention to your unique story without having to worry about like what's going on underneath the story, that the story structure is correct and they feel very confident and it pacing and it feels good. And pacing is super important. If you have a mispaced book, which you may be writing a mispaced book, which is fine, you're going to figure out that was mispaced, right? And then you'll figure out how to pace. That's what I did. That you will figure that out. But pacing is super important. And that's why story structure, and why I teach story structure so aggressively, is that story structure will help with your pacing. Because if right now you still think you should be in the old life before the opportunity, you are grossly mispaced. And the reader just really is not going to connect with you or your character because you've taken way too long in the old life. Pacing is essential. We need to be building. We need to feel taut. We need to feel tense on the inside so that the reader feels tense while they're reading. This balloon, we're just seeing the rubber stretch and stretch and stretch. It's coming. That's how you should feel about these pages ramping up to the opportunity. Again, you may be turning the act today, and that's okay. The turn of the act is old life sucks. Old life's trying to kick him out. And then suddenly does. It catapults. And it usually is that kind of pa-twing! Dwight tells Vince Vaughn, you've got to get out. I'm buying your gym. That shatters his world. He can no longer go back to the way things were because the way things were are no longer that way. Luke has to leave the planet because his aunt and uncle are dead. The farm is dead. So he has got to move on. Neo is arrested and knows he will die if he does not go with Morpheus. Those are the kind of really compelling, we need to get the hero up and out of his old life and into his new life. And we're certainly going to get up to the precipice today, if not pull the trigger. And then tomorrow we will definitely move the character from his old life into his new life. And this is usually a painful process. It can be violent, at least emotionally violent, painful, icky. Hero is really not thrilled about this. That is the tone that we want to set for these pages, today's pages and tomorrow's pages. I just want to say before we close how incredibly proud I am of you, and I can hardly wait to see you tomorrow.